us out on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on demand, sports talk for America.
This show is brought to you by BetUS.com. 125% off your first 3 deposits, 30 years experience, secure site, wagering for all sports, including during the games and futures. SeatGeek provides you the best prices on sports and music events, game tickets, and concerts. Use NSS promo code to get $20 off your first ticket. Keep using the NSS promo code when purchasing tickets for great deals in the future. In Fanatics at nessp.info for your favorite teams, sportswear. Click on the link, and while you're there, check out our national streaming sports merchandise. Thank you very much. Yes. So it's all that applause is for Keith Angle as he's joining the Mac and Jack show on Friday again in 2025. I haven't scared him away yet. Jack hasn't argued him away yet, so he's still with us. Welcome to our Friday show, folks. Mac, Jack on a Friday with Keith Angle. And Keith, this is a big day having you on because there was more college action yesterday and the day before. But let me start it off by saying this. It was a little confusing for a novice fan's sake. I got it. But you had the championship game going. You got the bowl games going. The Louisville's beating this team 35-34. Are they in the playoffs? Some people didn't know. Some people did. It's like the NFL right now. You have the Baltimore Ravens playing the Pittsburgh Steelers for, to move on to playoffs, and the Jets and Giants are playing, at 1 o'clock. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy the way it's set up.
And Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.
For the novice, again, sports like to attract the casual fans, right? This is confusing for casual fans. It's confusing for fans who pay attention all the time, because even the ones I know that pay attention and follow my shows, they don't understand the whole seeding process, right? First we rank them, then we seed them. So the second best team in the tournament is playing the best team in the tournament in round 1, basically, in the quarterfinals. It's just silly the way they do it. And this isn't the NCAA. I can't blame the NCAA. This is college football playoff is 100%. Well, I mean, they work together, but it's 100% different than the NCAA. But they don't.
One thing, Keith, one thing I don't get. Let me just say, I mean, I'm a bit of a novice college football guy. I mean, I've been following it for years, but as a casual fan, with the playoff format, I like it a lot. I'm more into it, watching the games more.
Sure.
I understand you want to honor the tradition of bowl games during the college playoffs, but a team wins their first game in the college playoffs, and they're on the podium celebrating as if they won the championship because it's a bowl win. I mean, I don't get it. You see them up there, you think the college playoff ended with that game.
Yeah, well, again, one of the big things, the Rose Bowl, for instance, it's in their contract that they have to televise an entire postseason or post-game hoopla. So again, the Rose Bowl's always been a bit of a cranky pain in the butt here with this playoff. But it's going to get weirder. No team have ever won 2 major bowl games in a single season. That's going to happen twice now. Well, I guess the Peach Bowl maybe wouldn't be, but Penn State or Notre Dame is going to win 2 major bowl games in this one season. They'll have one. What they played the other day. Notre Dame just won the Sugar Bowl, and they're going to play in the Orange Bowl against Penn State. So they can win 2 major bowl games in a single season. That's never happened before. A lot of little things here for sure.
And Keith, are you going to get paid they get paid to do the bowl games? They're going to get paid by both bowl appearances, right? They win.
They'll get paid again in the Orange Bowl. Yeah. And Danny brings up a good point. You know, the Ohio States and Penn States of the world, they're splitting that with their entire conference at $14 million. Notre Dame gets it all. But remember something. Notre Dame hasn't been reaping in the rewards here the last 3 decades because that's their first major bowl win in over a generation, 30 years since they won a major bowl game. So it isn't like they've been raking in the dough with bowl game appearances. So,
and I think I'm not sure if this should change or not. I know the bowl games are very important. They want to play the bowls to get paid for it. But the NFL, if you win your division, if you're seated high, of course you play at home. You get that advantage. Where college, you really don't get that advantage. I mean, the fans can travel and all that stuff. So it's different there too. Ian, when you were talking about seeding, I mean, you had number 3 Texas playing number 12 Arizona State. Makes sense. But then you turn around, and then you got number 2 Georgia playing number 5 Notre Dame, or you know what I'm saying. There are a lot more closer seeds that are playing each other, which really doesn't make any sense.
It's because they do it twice, right? They rank the teams 1 through 12, and then they seed them because you've got to give the byes to the conference winners. That's what throws everything off. If they want to have 12 teams and give byes, then they really ought to give the highest ranked teams the 4 byes. And then Ohio State or Georgia. I would argue Ohio State's a better team than Georgia and should have been number 2. They'd be on opposite sides of the bracket and couldn't play until the final, not in the quarterfinal, and Georgia as well, having to play number 2 Notre Dame. Oregon really got the short end here. Look, they deserve to lose. They played badly, but they got the short end of the stick here as far as the bracket goes.
Yeah, and then you're looking at certain of the players from an NFL perspective where their stock is going to go up and down. And being a Jet fan, they're going to be quarterback needy. And then I'm studying a player like Jalen Milroe, who I thought might be available for the Jets. And I'm hoping not. No way. I mean, did his stock plummet? He looked awful. I can't imagine him being a first-round, a second-round draft pick. I mean, I'll be honest about it. If you ignore the hoopla, he's a 6th-round selection as far as I'm concerned. He was that bad.
He'd be a guy. He's talented. He's athletic, and teams love guys like that. Taking a shot at him in the 5th or 6th round is one thing, right? Take him in the 1st round is a totally different thing. And I guarantee you, maybe not the 1st round, somebody's going to draft him way too early. Just like Cam Ward, who's the best quarterback coming out in my mind, is going to be drafted too high. So will Shadur Sanders. It's just the nature of the beast.
And Quinn Ewers' stock went up. At least, temporarily. Temporarily.
Early in that game, it was dropping, and he saved himself with that 4th and 13 in overtime.
Keith, I think it depends the teams you're playing to. Listen, Michigan has a good defense. There's no doubt about it. They gave everybody fits. I just don't – listen, I don't think Milroe was ready. I agree with Jack. I think his capital – but it wasn't just his fault. No. The whole offense stunk. And I mean, that's like blaming a good quarterback for a bad offense. I'm not saying Milrose is a good quarterback. I don't know. From when I saw him, he's okay. Right? He needs a lot of work. But
the problem with these bowl games and Milroe and Alabama's performance and all the bowl games outside of the playoff is you have no idea who really wants to be there and play and who doesn't. There's so many opt-outs and teams like Ole Miss, last night, at least they come ready to play and they blow out Duke. But you see a lot of games that The Alabama game is a perfect example. They have no business getting beat by a very mediocre Michigan team that day, and they just didn't care about playing. That was very obvious.
And the commentators, they're treating the players like kids, and in a sense they are, but with the money they can make in college, they've got to be treated, on a professional basis. A case in point is going to be when Notre Dame, they're deep in their own territory, 4th and 1, about 6 minutes to go, a 13-point lead. Everyone knows they're not going for it. I mean, come on. I mean, there is an element of surprise that you never know, but it would be foolish not to punt. So everyone knows they're trying to draw Georgia offside. So Georgia's offside. The kid that's offside for Georgia, it's like the commentators give him slack. It was a dumb play to be caught offside.
Yeah, I don't care. College pros, we do this all the time, right? We line up, even if it's at the line of scrimmage or run a play, as you said, or waiting for the clock to run out. I mean, you have to know. The one thing you don't do is jump off sides, right? That's what everybody's trying to get you to do. And it happens so often, even in the pros. I don't understand. I've never given a guy credit for that, It
reminded me when we used to play two-ball dodgeball. Someone on the other side would roll the ball gently, hoping you went out, and then slam with the other ball.
I don't think that was the same as an NFL game. They actually took the offense off, ran the special teams in, ran the offense back up. They countered running their defense up. They think they're going for the first down. It's, I think, 4th and 1, and they just jumped. They were
thought they were going to go, Mac. Did you really think they were?
I'm just telling you, as a defensive lineman, you don't know, Jack. You're not going to sit back and say, they're probably not going to go for it. You got to be ready.
If that ball's at the 50 or the Georgia 40, well, then I'll give you the benefit of doubt. You got to be prepared to stop the team. But when you're deep in your own territory, unless you're Bill Belichick, nobody's going for it there.
Listen, I just think that the kids were running in and running off, and I think it was just a good call. I think it was a good play.
Notre Dame did it as well in a little bit different context to Indiana in the first game. They were scheduled to punt. They put their they kind of lined up in punt formation. Then they lined up in a fake punt formation, and then they lined up to punt. And he had to waste a timeout because of it, because they just confused him. And Notre Dame's done a lot of that stuff all year on special teams.
And what gets me to the Texas coach, the game is tied up at the end. Texas is going for the winning field goal. The kick had missed one previously in the big spot. You don't need a pep talk if you're a kicker. Leave the darn kicker alone. It's all about concentration if you're a kicker. You got to get in your zone, your mechanics, what you have to do. You don't psych a kicker up. He's not a position player.
I would agree with that 100%. Just leave him alone off to the side all by himself, because all you're going to do is make it worse, and he did.
AC Knight,
there were some solid clanks in these games. I like those clanks that just bounce straight back to almost a line of scrimmage.
AC Knight says we're going to get a true national champion. Every team that deserves a shot got a fair shot. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true.
Every team didn't get a fair shot. Maybe not because the way the lines up, but every team that deserved a shot got in the playoff.
A lot of people are saying some of them teams shouldn't have been in there, Keith. They got beat so bad the 12 best teams weren't in there.
That's not what this tournament's set up to do, though. The tournament's not set up to do that. If that was the case, you wouldn't count all conferences. You would just take the best 12 teams.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not what they do.
Yeah. So Cameron Ward, University of Miami.
They will do that at some point. Sorry, Mac, didn't mean to interrupt you. There will come a time that's what there will be, just the best 12, 16, whatever teams. So
yeah,
we're heading.
I mean, if they set it up the way it's supposed to be set up, that wouldn't be so bad. But they're not going to do it.
The NFL doesn't do it either, by the way. The 12 of the best teams don't all make the playoffs. There'll be teams sitting home with 10 wins while somebody with 9 or something's going into the playoffs.
Very true. Very true. So Cameron Ward reportedly took himself out of the Pop-Tart Bowl in the second half. That's what's been reported. It's a business decision, is what he was quoted in saying, Keith.
This one's a little different because I have a problem with guys opting out, especially when you paid them $2 million to play that year. And most of them, he had a discussion with the coaching staff. He was going to opt out of the entire game, by the way, until he found out 10 or 15 of his teammates will also opt out if he did. So he told the coaches, he talked to the coaches, he said, I'll play. The original plan was he was going to play a quarter. This was all done with the team in mind. So everybody was on board, knew what was going to happen. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but Cam Ward didn't just all of a sudden at halftime bail on his team. This was all a plan all along. And if you watched him, he was there trying to help I read reports where he didn't give a crap. He's standing on the sidelines, not paying any attention. He was coaching up his backup in that game. And I will say one thing. If I'm Cam Ward and I'm Marco Cristobal, when I get the ball back with minute 50 left with a chance to get a field goal and win that game, maybe I put him back in the game and see what can happen. But they're protecting their future investments, so it's hard for me to get on players. I used to get on players a lot, Mac. But when I watch coaches don't coach in these bowl games, 6 or 7 guys didn't coach their bowl teams. Some of them couldn't go play because players opted out after the coach left. The teams themselves, the universities don't have any loyalty to their players or the conferences they leave.
Fans are pretty clueless for the most part. And I just want to point out, Carson Beck is standing on the sidelines, and he's not showing emotion. So people are getting on him about that. Like he's got to put on an act like, oh, yeah, like that. Just put on an act for the camera to shut the people up.
Yeah, no, be yourself.
So, Keith, NFL, if you sign a contract, it used to be anyway. I remember when Bill Parcells, they won the Super Bowl 86. The Atlanta Falcons wanted him. They offered him a contract, GM, head coach, everything. George Young says, no, you're not going anywhere. You signed a contract, you're staying here, and you can coach the contracts out. Why don't they do that in college?
Well, they should, but they allow buyouts. Every coach has a buyout in his contract. Bill Belichick's got a buyout. He could very well leave. Not very well. He could potentially leave before he ever coaches a game if he wants. Somebody wants to pay $10 million and $1 million after July. But I don't disagree. I mean, there needs to be. You want to get on kids, and I've been on this rant for a week now because a lot of guys have been ripping kids for not playing or transferring before the season's over. The NCAA screws us up with the window opening up December 2nd and closing late in December. They've got to make a decision in December. Your coaches leave. There needs to be somebody overseeing all of this. A commissioner of college football is what's needed. Nick Saban's name gets kicked around for that post if they ever do it. And I think it would be a brilliant move, although he probably wouldn't take the pay cut from TV. But they need some oversight. I mean, right now, it's a wild, wild west. Everybody can do what they want. I mean, Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State, great young coach, did a great job turning that program around, getting him into a playoff, signs a 5-year extension. You want to be excited. That's great, but it means nothing. I mean, next year somebody could offer him a job and they buy him out of his contract and off he goes.
Yeah, any coach, even if he doesn't have a buyout, can get out of the contract one way or another if the team that wants him is willing to pay. You mentioned Bill Parcells. Going back in the NFL, Don Shula became coach of the Miami Dolphins to begin with. He was under contract to the Baltimore Colts, and yet Miami signed him, and eventually Pete Rozelle gave a first-round draft choice.
Yeah, but that was kind of different because Miami at that time was a new team. I mean, the situation was a little bit different. This was just Parcells wanting to move on after the Super Bowl. And George Young just said, no, you're not.
You don't think if Andy Reid had a few years left on his deal and he just wanted to go elsewhere, the Chiefs wouldn't work out a deal? I mean, he couldn't just pack up and leave, but there are ways to work things out.
They would get things. Look, the Jets got a haul for Belichick back in 1999. They got like a bunch of first-round draft picks.
Yeah.
So
they do jump in. I just think if you gotta, if you want to stop it, you got to stop it. You can't say, well, we'll do this and we'll do that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, to me, again, that's why I'm not on players as much as I used to be. I don't like it, but I'm not on the way I used to be when nobody shows any loyalty around them. Nobody.
Let's get to some more of the games here. You got Louisville beats Washington 35-34. Great game, Keith. I mean, I know it was only a bowl game. I always liked Louisville. I think Louisville was a good team. They battled almost every team, and Washington was no scrubs either. They were a very good team too.
Yeah, there's a couple of games. This is one of them. There was a handful of really good, outside of playoff bowl games, and this was one of them. They played. I was surprised that both teams came out to play the way that they did. Both teams had guys opt out like crazy. But again, you get a handful of good games, and that's why ESPN's paying all this money for all these bowl games that nobody's at. Do you know the biggest criteria for getting invited to a bowl game today is how many tickets you can buy to fill the stadium? That's one of the biggest criteria to get in.
Well, they got to fill up programming. That's why with all the bowl games.
Yeah, but they need people in the stands, right? They can't just show up these stadiums.
I thank you, Danny, for the compliment. I'm feeling a lot better than I did a little while ago. So, I'm getting stronger every day. So that's the cool thing. I'm able to do
all that cheesecake and stuffed pork chops you're getting is what's.
I'll tell you. Yes, Linda is just feeding me, get me back up there again, which is cool. LSU beats Baylor 44-31. Newsmeyer, a nice Irish guy, 304 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interceptions. Hilton, who was a good wide receiver, 113 yards, 1 TD, and the Baylor quarterback also, he threw for 445 yards, a couple touchdowns. Again, not a bad game. I'm glad to see LSU. I would have rather them lost because Notre Dame's going to go to national championship, and then head coach Redface would be really happy with everything. But that's okay. We'll give LSU the win.
This is why it's really hard, and you might as well just watch these bowl games. And if you try to bet a few of these games outside of the playoff games where you know what's on the line, this game you would have thought LSU wouldn't give two craps. They finished the season up horribly. Baylor was red hot, won their last 6, saved their coach's job. You would think, and they had more guys coming back. I think they had like 1 starter opt out. LSU had a lot of guys play as well. But you would have thought Baylor would win easily here, that LSU wouldn't care. So it's impossible to know. They played a good game and come out a winner. I was rooting against them too. Sorry, James. I'm a fan these days.
The Penn State team that you have violently and viciously made fun of all year, saying they can't win the big one. And they
viciously, that's true. That's fair enough. That's just this year. And to be fair, not just this year.
Yes, every
5 years.
He has a Nittany lion on his wall, and he just throws darts at it every year before the season starts. Listen, they got a chance. They're in the Final Four here, Keith. I mean, running game, quarterback that doesn't make a lot of mistakes, good defense. I don't think they can beat Ohio State. I don't think they could beat Texas. Maybe Texas is not all they caught up. They might be able to beat Notre Dame.
They
don't think so.
He still hasn't beat. Now, again, my argument about James Franklin, he doesn't beat top 10 teams. Well, you can. Boise State was close to a top 10. I don't know where they end up ranked. I think it was around 10. But still, it's Boise State. It's not Ohio State. It's not, Oregon. They got the best draw of the whole bracket. Penn State. They had the 2 easiest games of anybody that's played so far on paper. I gave James Franklin some credit on my college football show yesterday. My list of winners for the first 2 rounds, James Franklin's right there. He's won two playoff games now. I can't take that away from him. Now he's got to beat a top 5 team, and we'll see how he does. Him and Ryan Day, I think, are the 2 biggest winners in this tournament up to this point, and Ohio State altogether, and Ryan Day.
Well, Danny agrees with you. Let me play devil's advocate here. Notre Dame won by special teams and defense yesterday. I think they threw They had one touchdown that was thrown by the quarterback. That's how they
one touchdown.
Yeah. So they
also ran for 100 yards, by the way, too.
That's fine. I'm not picking on the quarterback. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Drew Aller, he's not a great quarterback, very accurate, doesn't turn the ball over. They got a good running game. I don't know what happened to Georgia's running game yesterday. I have no idea.
Notre Dame's defense. That's what happened to their
beat them up. Yes, and I think Penn State has a pretty good defense too. So I think this game is pretty equal to me.
I think it will be a closely fought ball game. I don't think, I like Notre Dame, and I have a little bias because I have a lot of money potentially coming if Notre Dame wins this national championship with a futures bet I have.
Right.
But Notre Dame, if I try to take that out of the equation, Notre Dame's a better team all round. Special teams do matter. You can't just say, "Well, they won on special teams" and throw it away, because special teams is an important part of the game and we talk about it a lot on the College Football Huddle. Not enough teams pay attention to special teams, and it's very important. And you saw it yesterday. You saw it in the Indiana game with Notre Dame. And Riley Leonard, his numbers never look great, but he is I said this before the year, that Notre Dame fans would be very happy with Riley Leonard if he stayed healthy. And everybody was jumping off the Riley Leonard bandwagon after the Northern Illinois game. And I said it was on the coaches. They weren't using him correctly, and they figured it out. This is the hottest team in the country. Offensively, defensively, special teams. Marcus Freeman, another big winner here in this tournament so far, because his reputation was waning a little bit. Now he's got an extension. He's looked at as, the coach of the moment. So it's going to be a good game. I think both semifinal games are going to be very good, close games.
Well, let's not forget that, Georgia had a backup quarterback too was playing, right? It was a second string quarterback that played. First time he played. I'm just saying, Keith. I mean, it's not like they had the veteran quarterback out there playing that game. So that did play into Notre Dame's hands, right? I mean,
I'm sure it's an advantage. I get that, but injuries are part of the game, and you have to play with them. And I'm not convinced Carson Beck was going to make that big a difference. Carson Beck would have made a difference, but I don't know Carson Beck. Georgia's not nearly as good this year with Carson Beck as they've been. They're still a good football team, as they've been the last 3 or 4 years, obviously. All year long, even in the games they won big and came back, they made a lot of big comebacks. Carson Beck was part of those, but Carson Beck was also part of the problem that they had to come back in a lot of these games or lost games they shouldn't have. He didn't play as good. His stock dropped as much as anybody's.
Is he declaring for the NFL draft, Carson Beck?
I believe he did. Already.
So Mac, you got your quarterback for the Giants next
year. Yeah, there you go.
I heard Aaron Rodgers isn't coming back, Jack. So you're all set.
Carson Beck might be a third-day pick. He might go on day 3. He's fallen a lot.
A lot of turnovers. But I was just saying, if you have a quarterback starting his first game in a playoff, not a lot of experience. I think he did. I think he played pretty well for that. But Notre Dame was just blitzing him, driving him crazy. I mean, listen, I'm not taking nothing away from Notre Dame. I'm just saying, it wasn't their best quarterback or number one quarterback in there.
I can't argue that, but Georgia's also won in that situation in a playoff before. Their first championship year, I believe they won the first playoff game. It was what do you call his first start? I think. I don't know why his name is escaping me. But anyway, Kirby Smart's been in this position before. Kirby Smart coaches these guys up. I heard all the Georgia fans telling me how good he was before the game, and I watched him at the end of the Texas game. And I said he's not that good. He made a big game you can't make. That game shouldn't have gone to overtime. So, yes, it definitely plays into it. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat that. For sure, it's an advantage anytime your starting quarterback isn't in the game for the other team.
Are you worried about Texas? I'm worried about Texas. I think Texas, they did everything they could to almost lose that game. Arizona State, granted, Ewers came back at the end a little bit through that touchdown, but Texas really doesn't look like a number 1, number 2 seeded team.
Texas doesn't seem to be able to put 40 minutes together, right? Or 60 minutes together, sorry. Let's think of basketball. They do put 40 minutes together. That's the problem. It's the other 20 minutes. They kind of go to sleep. They got off to a really quick start here against Arizona State. Arizona State looked like we're going to get run out of the building early. And they made some stops. They actually moved the football and couldn't get the ball in the end zone. They probably should have kicked a couple of field goals and didn't. Yeah. But they don't seem to put teams away. They let them hang around. And eventually these teams get their footing and figure it out. And Arizona State did that. I give them all the credit in the world. Again, Texas struggles are also tied to Arizona State's ability to make changes and adjust, and they did very well doing that. So I agree with you, but I can't always just dismiss it as it's just Texas. It's what's happened on the other side of the football as well.
Oh, it's true.
But they do have a propensity not to be able to put teams away.
I think with Ewers being hurt part of the year, I think of Peyton, not Peyton, the Manning Ewers thing. I think that was blown out of proportion. I mean, he's hurt. Good Manning plays. He's not hurt. Ewers plays. That's just the way it is. I think a lot of that stuff was blown out of proportion. Go ahead.
You know, you hear this thing with Arch Manning. He's already sat for 2 years. I could guarantee you, even if he sat an additional year, hypothetically, if Ewers came back and they started him again, let's say Texas won the national championship and Ewers wanted to come back to Texas, he'd have to come back as a starter if they win the national championship. But the Arch Manning name is so big. If he came out this year, Arch Manning, even being on the bench, he would be a number 1 draft choice by some team. He would go in the first round. And I think he knows it. That's why he's not going to the transfer portal, because he doesn't have to prove himself to elevate his stock in the NFL draft.
He also just likes it at Texas. That's part of this too. Correct. He likes it there. Yeah. So,
Kate, you agree, Arch Manning, if he came out this year in the NFL draft with limited college experience, would go in the first round? It's just a question of how high.
Yeah, that's what they do in the NFL. That's again, they chase quarterbacks even when they shouldn't. So yeah, he would.
Yeah. If he did, any team that took him with their first picks out of their mind. That's what I would.
Every quarterback in this draft will be drafted too high. Wherever they get drafted.
I agree. This is not a good quarterback draft this year. It's very.
And some of them may work out. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying you shouldn't pick them where you pick them. That's all. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean I think they'll fail.
It's worked out, but last season worked out for the most part. It's too early to tell.
What's worked out, though? What's your definition of worked out?
Caleb Williams is the best quarterback of the future. Jaden Daniels has had a great rookie year. Drake May is New England's quarterback of the future. Michael Penix is the Falcons. Bo Nix is Denver's. J.J. McCarthy, who knows what's going to be with him.
But you don't know whether these things work out until their career's done, right? Because... As I said,
I mean, you could look at the signs, Keith. You could see this was one of the better quarterback classes in a while. I mean, you at least have 3 that I think are going to be pretty good NFL quarterbacks coming out. I think. So.
I don't disagree. Again, it depends. Yeah. At the end of the day, the judgment of how their careers go and where they were drafted compared to where they were drafted. Everybody's got a different line. I talked to you a lot about Super Bowls. First round draft picks have only won 8% of the Super Bowls since 1967. That's a pretty damning number right there, by the way. Doesn't mean you don't chase a really good quarterback in the first round. I don't say never draft a quarterback in the first round, but
look, my philosophy, you always take the best play available, except in the quarterback position. That's the only position I could see picking for need. Any other position, you go for the best player point blank.
And they probably shouldn't change that strategy because they end up reaching for quarterbacks too often, right?
It can't be a bad reach. I mean,
the problem with that. The problem with that is you may not get that number 1 draft pick again for a few years. I mean, you got to be. I mean, and not that I think the number 1 draft pick is the best, because the 20th could be better than the number. We don't know for sure. I'm just saying you have an opportunity to get what you think is your best player. Period. And if you miss this, wow, and you can be set back. He said it before. It could be a huge setback if you get the wrong quarterback. So let's get to Ohio State and Oregon, because that was a crazy game. I don't know what Oregon. I know Oregon got a extra week or 2 weeks off or something. It looks like they did. Ohio State came in and just blew their doors off. Oregon in the beginning did not even know it was in a football game, I don't think, because Ohio State just dominated them. Howard threw for 319 yards, 3 TDs. He was only in his second game. Trevon Henderson, 94 yards, 2 TDs. And my biggest takeaway on Oregon, before I let you go, Keith, is that Dylan Gabriel is a little guy. He's not a big quarterback.
No, he's not. He's going to struggle. I think he'll struggle to the next level. If he's going to be drafted late. But to your point, Ohio State for the second week in a row, and they needed to do it last week at home. They got out of the box really quickly, and that just set the stage. Oregon was out of this game before they even had a chance to be breathing hard. Yeah. The time off, that can be, that long break can be good or bad, right? And every team that won in the quarterfinals played in round one. All the teams with byes lost, everyone. I really believe there's something to continuing to play and keep your regular on a more regular schedule and not have a chance to get stale. And Oregon, they came back and scored some points in the second half, the end of the first half, second half, but they were already out of the game. They just weren't getting back in it without some kind of miracle. And they were just really flat to start this game. And so was every team that was off. You saw Georgia. They didn't play well all day, really, but they just couldn't continue any momentum. Of course, their kids on the sideline ought to stay on the sideline, by the way, and that was a pivotal play at the moment. Whether it's the end of the game in general, I don't know, but that kid today probably
will always be remembered.
Too.
Always be remembered.
I watched that kid go from 20-yard line to 20-yard line trying to hide, and the camera found him all day long.
He was behind people and everything. They were just they are not nice people at CFB. They are not that. They just anyway. Yeah, that kid looked like he was going to cry at one point.
I feel bad for the kid. He was excited. He wasn't really in. If you look at the thing, he wasn't really even that white stripe. He just kind of.
No, he wasn't.
But he made contact with the referee. It was so.
Well, yeah. But you can't tackle a referee, I guess.
No, you shouldn't tackle a referee. It's a bad idea.
But Georgia looked like it was playing the whole game until like the end of the fourth quarter. Then it looked like they just said screw. They were like hugging each other and stuff. It's like it's over. Again. Listen, Notre Dame played a good all-around game.
Solid game. One mistake on special teams, but they make it up with a 98-yard kick return. So, and some other great plays on special teams.
Yes. Which is special teams huge for Notre Dame this year.
Sure.
So we've got Texas at Ohio State, and we got Penn State at Notre Dame. Jack. Few words on Texas and Ohio State. I know you don't watch college yet, but I know you've been keeping up lately. Ohio State just too much for
Texas. I've been watching the games, Mac, this year. With the playoff format has perked my interest as a fan. Cool. In the past, when it was just bowl games, it bored me to a large extent. But now that they're going to have a valid tournament for national champion, in the beginning of the year, with my limited knowledge compared to Keith's, remember, I picked Texas to win the national championship with my limited knowledge in comparison.
You're still alive.
He picked Notre Dame. Mac, I think you were the one eliminated. Who did you pick?
I think I picked UConn.
UConn. Okay, there you go.
By the way, kudos to UConn.
Keith nailed it perfectly about Texas, talking about him a little while ago. They can't seem to play for 60 minutes. It's like they have a concentration lapse, if there's such a thing in team sports.
That's coaching.
Yeah, I don't understand that. They had the game against Arizona State so well in hand. I mean, the game was locked up, but Arizona State didn't seem to have a prayer. And all of a sudden, they scored 2 touchdowns, 2 two-point conversions. Texas misses 2 field goals. I mean, one of them clanked off the post. Mm-hmm. But still, I mean, everything that could go wrong for Texas was going wrong. Imagine they didn't pull it out at the end. What a collapse that would have been for their program had they actually lost that game. I mean, but they survived it. But now it's a new game, that they're going to have. And, against Ohio State, that's a monster team. To beat Ohio State right now is going to have to be favored to win it all.
6-point favorite right now. 6
right. Yeah. And you look at the way you look at the way Ohio State looked in their last game. I mean, they're the only team, in all due respect to Penn State, who really dominated. Okay, really dominated, and then they just coasted at the end. But I'm going to stick with Texas one way or another, to somehow win, because Ohio State has shown us they could slip up in certain spots. I mean, what was Ohio State's biggest game of the year? Non-playoff by far, the Michigan game, right?
Right.
If they
right.
ever wanted to win a game badly, they wanted to win that game badly to finally break their losing streak against Michigan. Yet they lost against a compromised Michigan team in a game that they had to be playing that game as if it was a playoff game, and they lost to Michigan.
Yeah, that was earlier, Jack. I see. Ohio State looks like a train right now. Their receivers are unbelievable. Their defense is unbelievable. I'm with you. I think I'd be favored to win it all. Keith says they're 6 points up. I take that bet in a minute. I don't think Texas. I think they'll beat Texas by a couple scores. I don't trust Texas. I really don't. I don't think Texas will stay with Ohio State. I mean, I don't know any team that's going to stay with Ohio State, to be honest with you.
Well, you're basing it a little too much maybe on Ohio State's last game.
Yeah. I think they're kicking on all cylinders right now, Jack. This is when you got to be playing your best, right? I think Penn State's playing their best right now. I think Notre Dame's playing their best right now. I think Ohio State's playing their best right now. And I think Texas is not playing their best right now. I think Texas is kind of wallowing right now. And I think they're going to be an easy picking when it comes to Ohio State. So I like if there's 6 points, Keith, I'm betting Ohio State.
Yeah, 6 point favorite, 1.5 for Notre Dame. Guys, I got to jump. I apologize. My guest's having some trouble getting in the studio for 9 o'clock, so I got to get with him real quick. I apologize.
Well, okay, and you have on
Richard Todd today, former Jet quarterback.
There you go.
All
Richard
right.
Todd. All right, Keith,
Thanks,
have a good one.
Bye-bye.
All right, so there you go. Keith Angle up right after us, and he'll have Richard Todd. Stay on the Roku channel. That's where we're all at. So thank you, Jeremy. I'm feeling good. I'm glad to be back. And let's go through this. Yes, Ohio State, maybe 15. That might happen. Texas will lead, and I don't know about to get the lead or not, but let's see. We also got, how about Michigan exposing the fraud known as Alabama? Michigan.
Well, I mean, would it have made a difference with Alabama if Nick Saban was coaching this year?
I don't know, Jack. Maybe.
I mean, they overachieved a year ago when he got them to the Final Four, but you kind of got the feeling that Saban was getting out at the right time. I know he hated the transfer portal with the recruiting.
Right.
I think the transfer portal played a lot into it. He just got tired of it.
Right. I agree. I think it's not as much about coaching as it is, having a GM giving you players and you putting players in certain things. I think it lost a lot of luster for him.
It's like college players a free agent every year.
And without any restrictions, it's different. Pro, you got to sign a contract when you go to a team.
I don't get it. Technically,
I don't like to hear it. Right.
Mac, technically, it's an educational institute, and students are allowed to switch colleges to go elsewhere, hypothetically. But this is also sports. There's got to be something done about it. But that's a discussion for Keith at another time. Let's move on.
That's true. Okay, so we have Texas and Ohio State. I believe Ohio State probably wins this, Jack. I think you think too. Penn State versus Notre Dame. I think it's going to be a very close game.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it plays out, but it's exciting. A Penn State, Notre Dame, pretty even matchup. Texas, Ohio State. I was hoping Texas and Ohio State could be safe for the last bracket, but they're not. So even Notre Dame or Penn State gets to the finals. So good for them. Big-time college programs, major names historically.
For more of the NFL, Jack, we kind of review this real quick. The Bengals are playing at Pittsburgh. Huge game for Pittsburgh. Of course, Bengals still have a chance to get into the playoffs. Pittsburgh's, if they lose and the Chargers win over Las Vegas, they would play Baltimore in the first round. If they win, they would go to Houston and play Houston. Very important they win this game.
Yeah, right at this moment, but situations change. I would rather play at Houston than play at Baltimore at this point. Houston is floundering. talk about momentum in a negative way. They have been falling apart at the end of the year. But sometimes a team regroups. Houston has one more game tomorrow. They play at Tennessee. If Houston loses at Tennessee, I mean Sunday.
Ooh.
If they lose at Tennessee Sunday, wow. I mean, that's hitting the bottom of the barrel. I mean, imagine how they're going into the playoffs. They'd be going in with a 9-8 record, no confidence at all, floundering completely. I know you could give all the pep talks you want about it being a new season, but I don't want to say the Texans would be done, but obviously they'd be a lot easier to play than the Ravens. But look at the Steelers themselves. I mean, if they lose to Cincinnati, they finish the year 10-7, having lost their last 3, and their last 2 wins have been ugly. They've only been semi-competitive, not even semi-competitive, you could say.
Yeah, their offense has almost disappeared, but more importantly, their defense doesn't look good as it does, Jack, normally. Their defense is being run on, is being passed on. I mean, I know they got a couple of injuries here or there, but that does not look like the Steelers. And if the Steelers have to play the Ravens, I think in the first round, they're bounced.
Supposedly, the rumor is there's a lot of internal fighting at Pittsburgh amongst the players.
Okay.
They haven't been showing unhappiness towards Coach Tomlin, but amongst themselves. And some people waiting for Coach Tomlin to take charge of the situation. But his feeling is it'll work itself out. I mean, that's what Bill Parcells used to do with the Giants. When players would argue, he'd think they'll work it out amongst themselves. And if you have leadership within the locker room,
that's what it is.
It does work itself out, unless it's the leaders themselves who are fighting and bickering. And if that's the case, that's not good leadership.
Yes. Russell Wilson is no Ben Roethlisberger. He doesn't seem as stern or as mean, I should say, right? If you listen to Russell Wilson, he's a happy guy. I don't know if that's the right leader in that locker room. Maybe he's a leader, maybe he's not. Maybe you need somebody that's a little bit edgy, like the Giants had or the Jets had. Go ahead.
I am telling you, you heard it here, Mac, first. The long-range prediction. No one else said it but me. Aaron Rodgers will be quarterbacking the Pittsburgh Steelers next year.
Okay,
and he might be successful. He might be successful. I don't know. I'm not venturing a prediction whether he will or won't be at this point.
Yeah.
But, if unless the Steelers somehow regroup, if they go out easily in the first round of the playoffs, I can't see Russell Wilson coming back as their quarterback, and they're not going to go to Justin Fields, because if they were going to go to Justin Fields, they would do it at some point this season.
Yeah,
they're
they've already
be
done it.
looking elsewhere, and maybe they'll take a fly on a Kirk Cousins. Because Pittsburgh might be thinking we want a system quarterback. We don't need a game changer. We could maybe have someone who could run the offense a little better than Russell Wilson. But you get the feeling Russell Wilson really has to rebound, the rest of the way to maintain his future in Pittsburgh.
I agree. Jack.
And they've won the defense. What happened to it?
I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
To it?
I know. Porter is hurt. Joey Porter's hurt in the backfield. Watt's not doing too well. He's got an injury. And another other defensive lineman has an injury, but still, I mean, you either got to rest them and you're going to go in the playoffs anyway, or I mean, they got to suck it up. I mean, this is it. This game is huge to me. I think the Bengals beat Pittsburgh. I really do, and I think that Pittsburgh ends up playing the Ravens, who have to win to get to win the division, because they're playing the Browns. Now, Jack, the Browns are resting players. That's what they said there.
I think the Browns might be looking at a higher draft pick, hoping they can draft one of the quarterbacks.
Can you imagine saying
that? Cam Ward,
Can you imagine standing on a podium?
Travis Hunter if they have to, if they can't get a quarterback.
Can you imagine being the head coach standing on the podium in front of your Browns reporters and saying, "Hey, listen, we're going to rest our players this game because We got to give
There
them a break.
was the purpose for Cleveland resting players.
Right.
It's obvious they're thinking of the draft. Kevin Stefanski, the Brown coach, is going to be back next year. And even though the Browns have had a terrible year, he hasn't been on the hot seat, even though there have been a couple of rumors about maybe his job could be in jeopardy. There hasn't been a movement, with the Cleveland fan base. Oh, get rid of the coach, Kevin Stefanski.
Right.
So I think they really want their quarterback in the future. They restructured Deshaun Watson's contract. They're willing to come back with Deshaun Watson as their starter as long as they can draft a young quarterback. And there are not that many good ones out there.
Yeah,
basically, right now, it's Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. The rest of them, you could get laid on in the draft.
I agree. I don't see the purpose. And like I said, of course, the Ravens want to win. They want to win the division. I think they're 10-6 right now. They would be 11-6 if they win, or the 10-5. I'm not exactly sure. Don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, they have 5 losses, the Ravens.
So they win. They don't get a bye though, Jack. Right? They're not a second seed. I don't think.
No. They're only the first place team gets a bye. Only the Chiefs are getting a bye in the AFC.
Right.
And Sunday night, what a game. Minnesota, Detroit. The winner gets a bye. Is the number 1 seed. The loser's the number 5 seed.
Crazy.
But rules are rules. I think it's fair, believe it or not. Even though some people are going to say, 14-3, this. If you're going to change the rules, then don't tell me a Giant team that won 10 games won the Super Bowl one year, won 9 games. What were they, 9-7, and the Giants win the Super Bowl? Then no, they shouldn't be allowed to be in the playoffs. So put an asterisk next to it if that's the case. And I don't believe that should be the case. The rules are the rules. If you can go 9-8 and win your division, you won your division. You fulfill your requirement. I mean, I understand it's a fluke type year where the Vikings and Lions have both been great. They're both 14-2. And the team that's 14-3 is going to be a wild card team and have to play on the road. But those are the rules. That's the luck of the draw. I mean, we had a Seattle Seahawks team that was 7-9 one year. And they, won their division, was so weak. And they hosted a home game the first round of the playoffs and won that home game.
Yeah.
Okay? If we can do it, whatever. Look, the Cincinnati Bengals, if they should somehow sneak into the playoffs, look out. But if the Bengals sneak in the playoffs and let's say they go to the Super Bowl, we're going to say, how unfair it is that Kansas City Chiefs were either 15-1 or 15-2, depending on the game Sunday. It's what it is, Mac. Let's accept it.
No, I don't disagree with you. The number one thing is to win your division, and that's the way it's always been set up.
Yeah,
you build your team to beat your teams in your division, right? That's how it's set up. So whether you 500 or whatever, then whatever after that, and the way they seed them, a lot of people have talking about reseeding, right? Having all get in the playoffs and then reseed them. I think that's stupid.
No.
I think it's dumb. You don't need to do that. I think if you're good enough to win, you're going to win. If you can't beat them now, you can't beat them now. And I know that's kind of takes away from the regular season, but you won enough games to get in the playoffs. New season, you're who you're playing against, beat them or don't beat them, go home. So,
but I'm going to tell you, they have to play an extra week, and it could be a downer for the 5th seed because. Remember when the Giants played the Cowboys years ago in a big, big game when Phil Simms was a quarterback for the division title? Giants lost, wound up being a wild card. Cowboys got the bye. It took everything out of that Giant team. They weren't the same, and they went out easily in the playoffs. Had they won that game, gotten the bye, rested up, it would have been really, helpful for them.
Everybody's gave their comment on Saquon Barkley, whether they should play him, don't play him, give him the record, let him go for the record. What are your thoughts, Jack? I mean, if you were
more than Saquon Barkley. It's more than Saquon Barkley, and no one talks about this. If you're going to play Saquon Barkley, You've got to play your first team, your offensive line. You have to play your unit, not your wide receivers. You could get backups there, but you have to give him his offensive line. So you're not resting some of the other players. They've got to go out there. And the Eagles don't have a bye. If they were having a bye, I'd say absolutely play him 100%. He also needs like 101 yards, 105 yards. That's not so easy to get. If he was 30 yards away, yeah, play him early, go out of your way, get the record, and then pull everyone off the field. Okay? That means all those yards he needs, unless he breaks off a couple of really long runs, he's going to be in for basically the whole game. And the blockers are going to be in for basically the whole game. I have mixed feelings on it. As a fan, I want to see him go for the record. And everything is set up. You're coming back to Giants State. I mean, playing in Philadelphia, but you're playing against your old team, the Giants. Right. And I had a theory that Saquon Barkley was so popular in that Giant locker room. Some of the players, they'll try to stop him, but to a point. They might, conveniently slack off on a play or two now and then just so Saquon can get the yardage. I know we talk about them being competitors, and I don't mean they'll tank it. I'm saying this. They're not going to be trying extra hard to prevent Saquon Barkley from getting the record. They're not his former teammates, buddies of him. I'm not saying they're going to let him get it, but they're certainly not going to be motivated to stopping him from getting it.
Well, see, the whole purpose here, their reason is that we're going to rest so that we're ready for the Super Bowl. What happens if they don't win the Super Bowl? What happens if they get knocked out next week? I mean, at least Saquon and the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, because they're part of it, gets the record. That will maybe not be working for years. And, I think the offensive line wants to do it. Down deep, I think Saquon wants to do it. I think everybody wants to do it, except for maybe the coach and the GM saying if he gets hurt.
Dan Campbell, the Lion coach, even though it was a meaningless game against the 49ers in a sense that it wouldn't affect them going for the number 1 seed against Minnesota the following week, he didn't rest his guys.
Right.
He went out, he played his guys, okay? So Nick Sirianni could do the same. But let's be honest about it. If Nick Sirianni played Saquon Barkley and they suffered an injury to Barkley or someone else, everyone would get on Nick Sirianni's case because we live in a society of second guesses.
No doubt.
Okay?
No doubt.
And this comes up in sports all the time. A player could be pitching a perfect game, a pitch after 7 innings, his pitch count could be high. The manager pulls him. I mean, I'm of the school, Mac, if you have a chance to do something special, great. You go for it. I would play him if it were me. But I would also judge what's going on early in the game. If after 1 quarter he's got something like 12 yards, I might then pull the team off. I don't know. About a half, if he has. Yeah. The Giants, too, would know. If they wanted to stop him, that would be their game plan.
Right.
Key on Saquon Barkley because they know he's going to keep running the ball.
Yeah. I mean, he had 167 yards, I think, rushing last time he played the Giants. And I think he got out early in the fourth quarter. If I'm not mistaken, he let the other players go. But there was multiple chances where Barkley could have got more yardage, Jack. He could have stayed in that game. He could have played more and not sat as much. And last week, they could have given him the ball more and had him. So it looked like from the beginning they were going to sit him. I'm just saying this is a historical thing that might never happen again for years and years and years. And I could kind of like to see it, but it is what it is. So, folks, we're at the top of the hour. Me and Jack will be back on Saturday Memory Show. Got a big show for you tomorrow, 8 a.m. with James, J-Train. Martin will be on with us. It's a Friday night. If you're going out, be careful. Don't get any trouble, and we'll see you tomorrow.